Alright, so back to this. I just honestly, for once, I actually really don't know what to say. It seems like I say that and I always follow it up with something, but it's like, this is, again, it's not uploaded yet, but I'm actually recording this after I recorded the Omori AU video, and just my overall thoughts and opinions. Again, there was only about 20 minutes, because that was what I had time for, but I pretty much hit on everything, and I said I may go more in depth with it. Honestly, the answer is probably not. It's probably just going to be that one video, so it's like, again, just at least in terms of getting that out of the way. But because of that, right, and then again, also just kind of thinking about Omori again, making an Omori video after it's been a hot minute. I've been making a decent amount of Kakegurui videos, but now that that's done, right, again, and having made the Omori videos, it's like, yeah, now that I've made that, I kind of wanted to make, I guess, like, what I would call, like, kind of a wrap-up video, like a wrap-up Omori video, and that's what this is kind of supposed to be, right? Again, I'll probably, chances are, I think I'm done with Little Witch Academia. I made all the videos I wanted to on that, but I think beyond that, at least when it comes to fucking Omori, chances are I'll probably still make Omori videos. I mean, I still plan on playing through the true route, so chances are I'll probably end up making more Omori videos. Honestly, if I see that being the case, or what would you call it? Again, if that ends up being the case, it'll probably go in the direction of the AUs, because I think I hit pretty much everything on the main game, so it'd probably end up being more stuff about the Omori AU. Like I said, probably won't touch on AR AUs, because at that point it's like, then you're delving down a rabbit hole. Versus, again, like I mentioned, why Omori is kind of different, and I mentioned that in that video. But that also kind of segues into this video, ties into this video. And again, as you can tell by the title, right, the importance of Omori, that's literally just what I'm titling this, I know, because I'm not going to title it anything else. And pretty much what I'm going to talk about is just, again, right, I'm just going to talk about overall its importance as kind of like, again, a game, but then like kind of from that meta aspect, but also kind of the story and what it's trying to tell, right? So, again, I mean, and this is something to where it's like, I don't know if there are Omori haters out there, right? But I made a video actually critiquing it, right, on Game Critiques, and I talked about how manufactured it was, right, for you to kind of feel certain ways. But again, it's something to where it's like, that video is still there, right? And it's something to where I guess that you can tie that into here. But because that's not what I'm going to be talking about. The TLDR, right, long story short, the importance isn't a sob story, right? That's not what the importance of the game is, right? Or the meaning of it as well. So, at least in terms of that, right, we can just get into it. So again, first off, when we look at the development, right, I already made a video on the development of Omori and game development in general. That video touches on it very specifically, or like pretty much this exact point. But again, the game took what? The first trailer was released in late, I think, 2013 or 2014. The game came out in late 2020. That's a solid, 6-7 years? And again, the person who created Omocat, I believe they were doing like blogs and stuff earlier about, what would you call it? Earlier about the actual, concept of the game, right? Even earlier than the first trailer. Going all the way back to the first thoughts and ideas that she probably had. Honestly, that could probably take us all the way back to 2010, if not earlier. So it's like, it's quite possible that this is a game that's a decade in the making. So, again, that's something to know, and I talked about that in the game development video. But that's part of the importance of the game is, again, persistence and overcoming challenges and obstacles and odds. And, again, being able to actually, what would you call it, follow through with what you're, again, and what's the term, right? There's a good term. To complete and finish what you started, right? Being able to do that there, right? As 6 years, that's rough. I mean, because most games, let's be real, most games take about, especially indie games, like because obviously, if it's like a AAA or like EA or whatever, right? If it's like a AAA game company and they're putting out a trailer, they usually have a release date. They usually have all that shit planned out, at least theoretically, hypothetically, right? Again, right? But when it comes to indie games and like kind of, I guess, what you call like smaller games and like studios, right? It's something to where it's like, when it comes to that, there's a lot more uncertainty there. So when it comes down to it, right? And because of that, right? It's not as, this planned out thing. But usually development still takes about like 2 to 3 years. Like 6 years on the other hand, that's rough. But again, and that's why, it being released when it did, right? And I knew that there were some bugs and glitches at the beginning, right, when the game first came out. But I mean, the game overall itself is solid. I mean, one of my favorite games. So what it comes down to is not only being able to complete and finish what you started, but then also having a solid end product as well, right? Despite everything that had happened. So that's part of the importance, is proving that as a point, right? As again, granted, this may seem contradictory to what I said earlier, and people, again, in delaying your game not being a good thing, it's not something you want to do. But again, right, what it comes down to there is that, again, still like they finished, right? They completed their game, they finished it, right? So again, that, and then it being a solid game, like this outcome being solid there, makes it the progress worth it, right? And again, that's from at least a meta perspective on just when you're talking about the game itself as like, again, a physical thing, right? That's part of the importance there. And then also you can make the extension pretty much not only doing that, right, but then also continuing to have relevance and being able to touch the lives of so many, right? I mean, that's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing to be able to create a game, right? Put all that time, effort, and then have it touch the lives of many. So, again, right, that's I don't know if it won awards, even if it didn't. It's still something that's important to know, right? How many, I mean, they just had a fucking art exhibit, like, however many fucking days ago. Like, about a week ago now, I think. And that's something to where it's like, I mean, when you reach a point to where it's that, they sell fucking merch. I mean, when you reach that point, it's kind of like, like you've had that impact, right? So again, that's also a more meta aspect, part of that importance there, right? From a meta aspect is being able to have that impact and touch the lives of many. Again, completely ignoring kind of how OmoCat is as a person, because I heard that they're kind of a shitty person, but again, that just goes into the indie genre flaw where you think you make a video game, an indie game, and think you're God, right? But again, that's besides the point. We're talking about the game itself, right? So there's that. But then you can kind of get into the story and the importance of Omori, like, as the game, right? Not necessarily as like a physical like entity, right? Or as a physical like game, but more so regarding the story, and I guess, like, again, what actually, what you're playing, right? The importance there, again, isn't, and I mentioned earlier, because one of my critiques was that it felt very manufactured. Again, what makes it important isn't that it's a sob story, that's not what makes it important. Again, it's definitely, shows how your emotions can be toyed and messed with, right? And then manipulated kind of, again, into feeling certain things in certain ways. So that it shows that, but that's not the importance. The importance is the message of the game, right? Even if it's in a very contrived, very manufactured scenario, the message is what's important there. And again, the message, and we know this through playing the game and getting the good ending, right, is ultimately, again, forgiveness, right? For not only of, again, right, yourself, but, it's mostly for yourself. Because I was going to say of others too, but we don't fucking, if that's what they wanted, then they would have showed post good ending, right, their reactions, right? But again, because it's like, okay, damn, then we could get into that. But it's more so, again, being able to, not even necessarily forgiveness, because I feel like that's an overrated or overused term. More so just coming to terms and accepting what's happened, right? The past mostly. Again, let's put it this way. I'm 22 years old, right? I made it through high school. Okay, well, first off, I started recording Civ about probably like 5-6 years ago. I think it was my junior year of high school. So how old would I be then? Like 17? I think that sounds about right. So, again, right now I'm 22. When looking at my recordings, I've like, again, with what I've been doing, I've come to terms and accepted that, my shit's not gonna blow up, right? It's mostly for me. It's not, I'm not deluding myself there. That's also a big aspect, not deluding yourself and not rejecting reality. But that's just from my recordings. Again, funny enough, I'm pretty sure my big recordings were DDLC Rain Clouds, some of my earlier DDLC mods, and then not even Insurgents. Omori actually blew up a decent amount. I got by a decent amount, it's like a few dozen views, right? My Miraculous Ladybug videos got a decent amount, right? So again, but like those kinds of videos are what blew up. Not my Civ videos, not my Insurgents videos, which arguably I enjoyed even more, the most, right? But not these videos, right? But again, and not my black screen videos. I don't think they've even done well. But again, it's something to where it's like, what it comes down to is that, you know, I've accepted, you know, my accordance, right? And kind of what they were, what again they are now, and what they will be moving forward. So I've accepted that, you know, I've come to terms with that, right? So I'm not this big fucking YouTuber, right? That's obvious, but that's for that specifically. But more so, obviously, and that's not what fucking Omori isn't about fucking YouTube, right? It's about life in general. So like, again, for example, you know, I'm 22, right? I mentioned, you know, because I've been through, you know, high school, right, college, you know, and now I've got my career path set with what I'm doing pretty much post-college now, since I'm a college grad. I've got my career pretty much set, you know, pretty much outlined for what I'll be doing at least for the next, like, decade or two, right? At least for the next decade or two. I've pretty much got my life, not even career, but pretty much my whole life, like, kind of outlined, in a sense. Yeah, that's something I've accepted, come to terms with, and I've accepted and comes to terms with, you know, how that came to be, right? You know, the past, and how that led to now, and what that's doing for my future, right? Like, I've accepted and come to terms with that. I could have done plenty of different things, right? You know, plenty of things could have led to me not sitting in this car and making this video right now. You know, I'm looking out and I see fucking barracks buildings, right? You know, so it's like I see barracks. I'm in a parking lot, right? I'm on a base, right? You know, not to get specific, not trying to fucking self-dox, but again, it's like, you know, my life could have gone different directions, but I've accepted and come to terms with where it has gone, right? And where it will go. Again, right? The past linking up with the present, how the past led to now, and then how that'll influence and impact my future, and what that'll lead to in the future, right? So again, it's like, you know, I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. That's a big thing. That led to me not focusing more on athletics. I was a 3-sport athlete and then held back in academics in high school, right? So that kind of paints a picture there. You know, I did, in college, so I studied some bullshit like degree, did some, again, training, right, throughout. Again, since I was the 3-sport, I didn't really commit to any. I just did the focus on my college, you know, bullshit degree and training. And then now, that's what led to now, and it's what it'll lead to probably in the next, I pretty much will know what I'll be doing, like have a general outline, not just for my career, but for life in the next 10 to 20 years. So it's like, you know, this isn't meant to be a biography or autobiography, so that's why I'm going to kind of cut that there. But that's, again, like, that's what Omori is kind of implying. That's what the importance of it is, coming to terms and accepting what's happened. You know, Sonny himself accepting and coming to terms with, Mari's dead, right? I killed her, you know, but there's still a world out there. I don't need to lock myself in my room and create this whole headspace and go on infinite journeys with, you know, my dream world friends, right? When I've got them in the real world with me, right? And then also going along with that, right? Telling them the truth, you know, letting them know, you know, the idea being you can't hold that forever, right? You know, you can't hide that secret forever. And especially since he now cares about the real world and is kind of accepting that, you know, he can't just lock himself in his room forever, coming to terms that there's a real world out there, also that they deserve to know the truth, right, after all these years. So, at least in terms of that, right? And then again, not deluding yourself and rejecting reality there. So him coming to terms. And again, that's the whole point of, what would you call it? Again, you know, well, coming to terms and accepting what's happened. But also him when he fought himself, right? When he fought Omori. That was the whole point of him fighting Omori and beating him there. And beating him playing the duet, right? You know, to show that, again, you know, he doesn't need headspace. You know, he doesn't need, you know, this fictional world, right? Where he can delude himself into thinking everything's fine. He's got the real world. And even though Mari isn't there, he's got his memories of her. And he's also now, again, he's got this feeling knowing that, or he's got this, what would you call it? He's got the weight and then burden, like this weight and burden being taken off of him, because now he knows, like, what he must do and what Mari would have wanted him to do from the very start. And telling everyone the truth about what happened, right? And again, coming to terms and accepting it. And again, this is why I also say, this is a good point to make, right? And this is a good way to segue into it. This is why I also say it's not necessarily about forgiveness. Because obviously we know Sonny, because I mentioned Sonny, like, forgave himself. Granted, that's kind of arguable, right? But, and I stopped myself before I said forgiveness of others. Because if they wanted that, you know, we would have seen post-good ending, how they reacted to the truth. But again, it's not necessarily about forgiveness, because I think people think, you know, you do, I think that gets the wrong idea, or portrays the wrong idea, or not even portrays, but just like, I think it pushes the wrong idea of, oh, you should forgive people in any situation, right? And then what's it called? Or, oh, Sonny's friends should forgive him. I made a video on if they would, right? And my point was that if anyone would, or if anyone wouldn't, more so, it'd be Kel. But I didn't actually really answer. I mean, I said I think all three of them forgive him, granted for realistic reasons. But I more so portrayed it like, okay, here's who would be most likely, here's who would be least likely. Because the point is, again, you know, what's it called, right? That pushes this kind of idea that, you know, you should forgive everyone, that forgiveness is this universal thing, right? And that's something to where it's like, again, because obviously Omori can forgive himself, but he has no control over whether others forgive him. So to push it that it's about forgiveness is to kind of push this idea that he did it expecting forgiveness and wanting forgiveness. It's not about that. It's just, again, more blatantly and more broadly coming to terms and accepting what's happened, not deluding yourself and projecting reality. And like, here's the thing, right? We may as well get into it. So I don't want to say I'm atheist, because I hate atheists, and atheists, again, are like the fucking most self-centered people ever. Like, that's why I never identify as atheist. I'm not Christian. But it's like, atheists are like fucking, oh my god, anytime I think of atheism, I think it just, like, think of like fucking our atheists, like fucking, you know, just the most like fucking, you know, holy shit, the most fucking self-centered, like the most, what would you call it, full of themselves, like know-it-all type people. Like, that's kind of how I view and what I think of when I hear atheist, right? Just the old our atheism type atheist, right? But then again, and they're just secretly like either leftists or Satanists in disguise. That was a bit much. I shouldn't have said that, but again, right? That's no one watches these anyway. That was a bit of an extreme take, but again, right? So let's put that behind. But, and again, I'm not Christian either. You know, I was raised Christian, right? Protestant, I guess. That'd be the denomination technically. There was more specific. I think it was Presbyterian, but it's like, that's pretty much it's just denomination, right? But it's like, I'm not Christian now. I mean, it's been years since I've went to church. It's been years since I fucking cracked open a Bible. So it's like, again, and I know one of the main tenets there is like, again, about forgiveness, you know, turning the other cheek, right? That's not what this is about. That's not what this game of Omori is about. Because funny enough, I saw videos on it, you know, again, and I'll probably expand the title just to say the importance of Omori, coming to terms with yourself, or coming to terms with what happened and accepting reality, right? Or coming to terms and accepting what's happened. Again, because it's not about forgiveness, because that's just wrong. Because that, again, the issue with that being that, again, it makes it seem as though he's confessing the truth, right? And doing that and going through that, not necessarily because they deserve to know, right? Or because he's, again, you know, he's finally, you know, after all these years, abandoning his headspace and dream world and realizing, you know, there's still people out there. He's still got a world out there, right? Even without Mari, he's got his memories of her. They make it seem, oh, he's doing it just because, you know, he's wanting or expecting forgiveness. That's not the case, but again, right? I feel like I made a big enough point there, and I've already made too controversial takes, but it's like, again, with that, I think I'm honestly going to end it here, because that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about, and what I really wanted this video to be about. Again, you know, it's a fucking great, fantastic game. So glad, like, through all the other bullshit I've been spoiled, mainly for Pokemon stuff, right? For all the other bullshit I've been spoiled for pretty much everything, I'm so glad I got to play through Omori Spoiler 3, and I'm so fucking lucky that the people who commented on my videos didn't just fucking spoil it. I'm so glad I got to play through that game Spoiler 3, because that was a fucking, you know, that was a fucking journey, right? And again, with that, I think I'm gonna end it here. I don't really have anything else to say. So, yep, that's it for this one. See you in the next one.